Welcome to this latest edition of the Real Deal Podcast on this 13th of November 2019. I'm your host, Cyril Gerald-Quinn, discussing the world of sports and pop culture. As always, you can follow me on Twitter at William Gerald. Go to my Instagram at Real Gerald-Quinn. And we are streaming live on my YouTube page, Real Deal Podcast. I'm certainly happy to be with you on this Wednesday evening, a busy evening as far as the NBA goes. We'll get to the NBA because I have a few things, just a few things on the NBA. I've been all in on the NBA season so far. It's been everything I hoped for and then some. Paul George coming back Thursday, so that's even going to make it better. But we're going to begin with the NFL and Colin Kaepernick, who has a scheduled workout in Atlanta on Saturday. Um, you've already heard Eric Reed, to no one's surprise, say it's a PR stunt by the NFL. Um, Kaepernick, has been out of the league for basically 2.5 years. He's been working out, according to him, basically 5 days a week, 5 to 6 days a week. I believe he said five days a week, twice a day. So still maintaining his conditioning. He is still, as I fix my world champion Washington Nationals hat. Listen, I could be I'm been in DC for 15 years. I can be a front runner. Still a San Francisco Giants fan though, but championships in DC don't come along often. I enjoy it while when it comes, but Kaepernick's going to have this workout. All 32 teams have invited to go out. Who shows up? Who knows who's going to show up? Um, he wanted to do the workout, was originally wanted to be scheduled on Tuesday. The NFL said no. So it got pushed back to Saturday. And listen, I won't take it serious unless he gets signed by a team. That's where I'm at right now. I think now I'm not one who wants to put any negative energy into the universe, who wants to speak negative. I want Kaepernick to have a job playing football. I would love for Kaepernick to be playing football right now. I just don't see it happening, and I think that we have been past the point of no return in regards to Kaepernick ever stepping on the NFL field with a helmet on. Sure, there are a number of teams that could use Kaepernick. Kaepernick could start for any one of you know five to six teams in the NFL. There are more quality quarterbacks in the NFL than you realize. There are a number of young quarterbacks in the NFL, and the quarterback position, is not as the cover is not bare in terms of the quarterback position. But certainly, we know Kaepernick should be in the league, either starting for a team or being a number one, a top back question. But I just don't think it's going to happen. I think the NFL, what's going to happen is he's going to do the workout, and then you're going to have reports in, what, he kind of not as fast as he once was, or his arm strength has kind of went down. You're gonna have those reports, whether they're true or not. Those reports will come out. I guarantee you. They will find reasons to not sign him and try to turn it into football related reasons. That's what this is all about, and that's what they're talking about. So he hasn't had. I don't know what's the last time he had worked out with a team. It's been over a year that he's had an actual workout with a team, but he hasn't been signed. Everything in terms of him not being signed has been on the basis of course, the statements he made, taking the knee, and that narrative has carried on, has carried on strong for the better part, since he took a knee. And the NFL knows that people around the country, around the world, blame that particular narrative, allow that narrative to filter inside their brain. So the NFL wants to create a narrative of no, this is a football decision, and the only way that the NFL can change that narrative and make it, try to paint it as a football decision is by going and watching him work out, or having him work out for a number of teams. So the NFL is just trying to, you know, along with the Jay-Z, along with partnering up with Jay-Z. America is trying to appease, I think, try poorly is trying to appease African Americans. Again, I don't think it's gonna work. I don't think it's gonna work. I think I think African Americans, black people are smart enough to see through the bullshit. But again, those reports will come out. I guarantee you will have reports coming out saying that he's lost a step. The arm strength is not quite there. I guarantee you those reports will absolutely come out without question. And I think, and I've said this for a while, for a long time now. For a while, Kaepernick's purpose to me goes beyond football. It's beyond football. His purpose, his platform, he is an icon for what he's done off the field. And again, I like the fact that he hasn't come out and publicly spoken, because he's doing it with his action, doing it with his words, doing it with his actions. So I don't. He doesn't have to speak. He really doesn't. He's laying the groundwork. He's out there doing the work in terms of fighting social injustices all over this country. So I don't think he needs the NFL. I think you just have a guy who loves football and wants to play. Remember, he was a professional football player. There's a reason why he got to the NFL. He got to the NFL because obviously he had the talent, the physical ability, but he also loved the game of football. And I think you can easily lose sight of that, considering what he's done, considering that he's become this just larger than life type figure beyond football, to where his actions, what he's done, what he did on the football field. And he was a very good player, led the team to a Super Bowl appearance, multiple championship games, but he will never even come close to doing what he's done off the field, on the field. It's just not going to happen. So I think, but again, I think you can easily forget that this guy was once a Pro Bowl caliber, uh, franchise caliber quarterback who led his team to a Super Bowl. So again, we'll see what happens. I won't take it serious unless he gets signed. I'm not up for this window dressing. I'm not fooled by it. I'm not impressed by it. I'm not tapping my hat to tipping my hat to the NFL. They haven't done anything in regards to him. Sign him, okay? Sign him. Put him on a franchise. So until that happens, then we can talk when that happens. If it doesn't happen, then this is just a PR stunt. This is just the NFL again trying to pander to African Americans. So again, it's a scheduled workout in Atlanta on Saturday. We'll see what transpires. As far as Week 10 NFL action goes, you had a number of close games, a strange week, a strange Sunday to say the least, with with a couple results. I'm going to begin with San Francisco and Seattle. That was probably the best game of the weekend of the week in regards to very high level game with two teams with Super Bowl aspirations. Now I don't see Seattle as a legit contender, but they'll be dangerous in the playoffs, and they're going to make the playoffs. They get you can kind of see this loss coming. San Francisco being undefeated. So I wasn't surprised at all that Seattle won this game. Again, a great win for Seattle. The Seattle kicker just, not the Seattle kicker, excuse me, the San Francisco kicker, who made a big kick to get them into overtime, but couldn't finish the deal once they got into overtime. So that was, a blown opportunity for San Francisco from that standpoint. It's a win for Green Bay, a win for Minnesota, a win for teams, even New Orleans, who lost, for teams that were chasing San Francisco for that home field advantage. And home field advantage will absolutely mean something in the NFC. No question about it. New Orleans Green Bay, San Francisco, Seattle. That could be the difference between one of those teams going to the Super Bowl. It really like home field advantage is paramount in the NFC. It is without question. Um, I don't. To be honest with you, I don't see any of those teams going on the road and winning a championship game in the other person's building. I don't see Green Bay winning in New Orleans. I don't see New Orleans winning in Green Bay. I don't see Seattle winning in Green Bay or winning in New Orleans. I don't see Seattle winning in San Francisco. Remember, San Francisco again. San Francisco was banged up. They had lost. The tight end was gone. He's an All-Pro caliber player. Kittle. They Emmanuel Sanders went down, and so they were banged up on the offensively. So that was not their healthy team. But Russell Wilson, did what he did. It wasn't spectacular, but he is right now the front runner to the for the MVP race, should be a very close MVP race. As all of a sudden Lamar Jackson is picking up steam week by week. So great win for Seattle. I'm not going to go too crazy with San Francisco losing that game. They're 8-0. They were due for a stinker, and that wasn't even a stinker, but they were going to lose at some point. At some point in the season. Green Bay handles his business against Carolina. A game that came down to the last play. Excuse me, to the last play. Green Bay, I'm not completely sold on Green Bay. I mean, Green Bay has done a good job of winning these close games. The problem with Green Bay is, and this is what Mike probably is going to bite them in the postseason. You can run on Green Bay, and I'm not sure you can make it to a Super Bowl if other teams can run on you. Now it's a passing league. Everybody can throw on. Everybody can throw on anybody um, with enough passes. Like there's no, you know, you have you have some defenses that are clearly better against the pass than others, but for the most part, you can throw on most people. It is a pass league, but you have to be able to be a Super Bowl caliber team. If you're going to win a Super Bowl, you have to be able to stop the run. You have to be able to stop the run. I think that is an absolute must. Yeah, and I saw that comment. Yes, Seattle was missing Lockett. I'm not making excuses. Seattle deserved to win the game. I'm not big on making injury excuses, but my point is I don't think that Seattle could beat San Francisco again in San Francisco. I think if Seattle wants to get to the Super Bowl, they need home field advantage. So that's my overall point. But again, no, there's no excuses for San Francisco. You lost the game. You had your starting quarterback. You had your best defensive players for the most part. There's no excuses. Seattle deserved to win the game. But I think that I don't see, this is why I can't take Kansas City serious. If you can't stop the run, I mean, you're at another team's mercy. You make average quarterbacks look great if you can't stop the run with the play action. So that's why I can't take the Kansas City Chiefs serious. You can't, like Tennessee. Tennessee put 35 points on Kansas City. Can't take that defense serious. That's not a Super Bowl team with that defense. Mahomes could throw for 400 yards, which he did. He can come back off the injury, play great. They scored 32 points and they lost. Can't take that team serious anymore. And you remember how high I was on Kansas City at the beginning of the year, especially after September. But the bottom line is that defense has regressed. That defense has been horrible this year. They're even worse than what they were last year with the eye test. That defense is dreadful. That team, there's no way. As great as Mahomes is, and I think Mahomes is the top player in the league, top quarterback player in the league, that defense is awful. And there's no way that defense can make it to a Super Bowl. No way. So you have to be able to stop the run. You have to have a franchise caliber quarterback. And, what Baltimore is doing right now is very interesting because I want to see when teams get some more tape on Lamar Jackson. I want to see, as the year goes along, how teams go into scheming him. Because right now, nothing is working. Um, I remember when the Redskins had RG3 in 2012, and this was the only good RG3 year. And Lamar Jackson has more talent than RG3 physically. Now, I think RG3 is a better pure passer than Lamar Jackson, but physically, athletically, I think Lamar Jackson is by far more superior athlete. Now, I'm not gonna say he versus Michael Vick. I still think Michael Vick is the best pure athlete at the quarterback position that I've ever seen in terms of running. I still would take Michael Vick over Lamar Jackson. But Lamar Jackson has been spectacular. And what Lamar Jackson does is he just opens up your entire running game. You cannot commit to a running back. You have a quarterback that can break a 50 or 60-yard run at any time. And if the people down in DC remember that year, Alfred Morris had a big time year, had his best year in 2012, mainly because of RG3. So teams are going to, good luck trying to leave it early in the season, but Baltimore absolutely can make a. It's good enough. They turn you over. They can defend the pass. They're well coached. We know John Harbaugh is a big time coach. They and they what they do again. They're a physical team. What they do with Lamar Jackson, how they utilize him, you gotta tip your hat off to John Harbaugh. Now, I'll continue to say this. And if you listen to this podcast, I was not a Lamar Jackson fan coming out of college. I wasn't. I saw him in big games, saw him against Clemson, saw him against a couple of NFL caliber defenses. He did not play well. But he is a legit MVP candidate without question. He actually is throwing the ball better than I thought he would at this stage in his career. Still, for him to have a long career, and you draft a quarterback to be your franchise quarterback, which they did. He was second round. They drafted him to be their next quarterback. You want that guy to have a 10 year and beyond career, 10 plus years and beyond. Can he play 10 plus years and beyond in this particular style? I say no. So eventually, he's going to have to develop as a pocket quarterback and be able to beat you with his arm from the pocket. But for right now, he is must see TV. He is one of the most dangerous weapons in the NFL without question. And he's giving defensive coordinators nightmares trying to keep up with that guy, trying to game plan for that guy. And again, the thing about Baltimore versus Washington, they are far superior in terms of coaching with Baltimore. Like, I will take John Harbaugh over a elderly Mike Shanahan every day of the week and twice on Sunday. At that point, Shanahan was done. Was done. So you want to blame the culture of Washington. You can blame a number of things. Bottom line, Shanahan had complete control. Okay, they gave him the keys to the Cadillac and, drove it into the ground. So I have a lot more confidence in John Harbaugh in developing and maintaining Lamar Jackson's health in the future and for a career than I do Shanahan in regards to Shanahan with RG3. So we'll see what happens. But right now, Baltimore playing as well as anyone in the league right now. Lamar Jackson is a legit MVP candidate. Big time win for Pittsburgh over the Rams. I think it says a lot about both teams. Number one, listen, Mike Tomlin. I don't agree with everything Mike Tomlin does. Uh, Goes for two sometimes. Sometimes his situational coaching can be horrible. But you can't deny his record. The man, listen, Mike Tomlin is a top coach in this league. And this year he's probably done his best coaching job. That team at 1-4, was looking at a 4-12, 3-13 written all over it. Now the AFC, as we know, is not very good. We know the AFC is a joke. But that team is playing hard. That team defensively, they're playing great. Micah Fitzpatrick, one of the best in-season trades in recent memory. With the way he's played, he's going to be on the All Pro team without question if he keeps up this pace and in contention for Defensive Player of the Year. That's how well he's playing. He's been dominant out of Alabama, of course, and they've gotten enough out of Mason Rudolph to where they haven't completely put everything in his hands. Listen, just manage the game. Don't turn over the football. That's his job. Just manage the game and don't turn over the football. So Pittsburgh right now it would be in the playoffs. Which if I told you this, again a month ago, you would have laughed at me. But again, I don't agree with everything Tomlin has done situational coaching wise, but you can't deny that he is a big time coach and will be a Hall of Fame coach in the future without question, and has done probably his best coaching job. Great win for Minnesota over Dallas, 28-24. This was a very high level football game for the most part. Um, Minnesota again gave you. I mean, they didn't give you the blueprint. We know what the blueprint is in playing against Dallas. You want Dak Prescott to beat you and and take Ezekiel Elliott out. That is what you're going to do with Dallas, pure and simple. And you know what? Dak almost beat him. But the problem with Dallas is everybody talks about Dak Prescott and the offense. The problem with Dallas is they're not very good defensively. I mean, you can move the ball, you can score points on Dallas like that. That you can do it. I mean, Dalvin Cook did whatever he wanted against Dallas. Aaron Jones, look what Aaron Jones did to Dallas. Dallas defensively is not very good at all. I mean, the Giants, moved the ball against Dallas at certain points. But Giants are who the Giants are. They're gonna shoot themselves in the foot with just horrible coaching and just inept play calling. But you can move the ball on Dallas. That defense is not very good. I think Dallas has a ceiling. Dallas probably will make the playoffs. I say hmm, I I have a feeling it's gonna come again. That Dallas, the NFC East is gonna come down to it's gonna come down to that game in Philly when they play Philadelphia at Lincoln Financial. That's going to decide that game will decide which one of those teams makes the playoffs. And only one team. The NFC is so loaded with quality teams. Only one team is coming out the NFC East. But again, Dallas' defense is just not very good. It's not. So everybody talks about Dak and Amari Cooper and Jason Witten and whatever. The offense can score. We know the offense can score. Sometimes they get in the way in terms of play calling with Jason Garrett, but to me defensively is their problem. The Saints put up a stinker. Again, you have to give every team in the NFL at least one of these. We saw Green Bay last week against San Diego losing 26-11 to a Charger team that we know is erratic, talented but erratic. About the Saints with when they play Atlanta. First of all, Atlanta has underachieved all season long. There's no way in the world that Atlanta should only have 2 wins. There's zero. There's no way. No way. Like Dan Quinn, I would fire Dan Quinn today. There's no way in the world that team, with the talent that they have on that roster, there's no way that team should not be contending for a playoff spot. But that New Orleans Atlanta rivalry is real. That is a nasty rivalry. That is as those two teams and franchises and fan bases hate each other. I mean, it is on right there with Pittsburgh, Baltimore, right there with, you know, Dallas, Washington, as far as hatred. That rivalry is a real rivalry. Okay. That is a real rivalry. So I was shocked by the score, but not shocked that Atlanta won the game. Now, I would not pick Atlanta to win the game. But Atlanta has talent. Like Julio Jones is still an all-pro caliber receiver. Matt Ryan can still play, is still a big-time quarterback. They have pass rushers. They still have that. You look at that roster. That is not a 2-7 roster. Now again, I don't think they ever recover from the Super Bowl loss. Dan Quinn, we've been through that a million times with his play calling in the second half of the game, which cost him a championship. But that team is that team. I would not want to play that team if you're trying to make the playoffs in December. That is the type of team that can knock you out of the playoff hunt if you are, fighting for fighting for a wild card or challenging, or you're in a situation like Dallas and the Eagles where if you don't get the wild, if you don't win your division, you're not getting in. I would not want to play that team. That is a real team who just doesn't believe in the coach anymore. Whose coach, sometimes it happens. Listen, sometimes good coaches, sometimes players get to a point to where they tune out their coaches. I don't care how much success they've had. We saw it with Gruden when he won Super Bowl in Tampa Bay. Eventually, players, time was up. It happens, and it can happen quickly in the NFL. It can happen quickly in the NFL, even more so than other sports, to where a coach can wear thin with their players. So overall, I think decent week for football. They're gonna have a triple header in December, so they'll first time it'll be the first time triple header on a Saturday. They're gonna have that in December, so that came out this week. Thinking about the Rams a little bit, the Rams. They are in major trouble, not only for making the playoffs this year, but just their future in general. The Rams have the majority of their money tied in basically into five players. You have Goff, Gurley, the Aaron Donald, um, and four players, and they're going to pay Jalen Ramsey. So that team, you know, that team's prospects, like last year actually might have been their window to win a Super Bowl because I mean, listen, they're not going to be able to rebuild that offensive line if you're paying Aaron Donald $25 million. You're paying, Goff what? Goff is going to be at what, like 30. Gurley's the second highest paid running back behind Ezekiel Elliott. And you think about this, Gurley could be done. Gurley might be finished. You might have a case in Jared Goff where he is a system quarterback, where he can't lift up a team if they don't have a great running game and above average offensive line. Now, Aaron Donald, you absolutely have to pay him. He's the most dominant defensive player in the league. He's a guy that impacts the game on every play. So that I had no problem with that contract. But you're looking at these other contracts, like I would really have to. Now they're probably going to have to give Jalen Ramsey the money based on. I don't know. I don't know. I don't even. They need to rebuild that offensive line. I don't even know if I would pay Jalen Ramsey, to be honest with you. I think Jalen Ramsey, Florida State man guy. I think Jalen Ramsey is a legit top cornerback. I can make the case he's the best cornerback in the league from a talent standpoint. I mean, he's a legit top 3, top 5 cornerback without question. But financially, they're going to be strapped in trying to replenish that roster. And then, gave up a first round pick for next year. So it's going to be interesting seeing where how they move forward with that franchise. Again, this time last year, it looked like that team was going to be the team of the future, had everything in place to make a run, but they really have not recovered. That Todd Gurley injury has destroyed their offense. I mean that offense is not the same, and everybody wants to attribute it to the league catching up with Sean McVay, maybe a little bit, but it doesn't have the horses. That offensive line is not very good. That is a average offensive line, and maybe even mediocre at best this year. And Todd Gurley is a shell of what he once was. He's not like Todd Gurley. He may never be the same player again. This is a guy who you know, a year ago or 2 years ago was considered maybe one of the best, maybe the best non-quarterback in football. I mean, he was in that conversation. And right now, like he looks done. He is about a wrap for him. He's still young. I mean, Gurley's not. What was Gurley 27? If that, he might be 26, 27. Gurley's not old at all. Gurley still should have 3 to 4 years of where he was performing at an MVP caliber, offensive player of the year caliber level. But he looked finished. A couple of things in the NCAA that really annoyed me to no end, and even though the college basketball season has gotten started. I really haven't gotten into it as much with the college basketball. It's tough with the NFL, and especially coming off what the Nationals did with the baseball. But December comes around, particularly January comes around. Be all in as far as college basketball. But you had a situation where you had two future number one draft picks, or will be near number one draft picks, get suspended in their respective sports. You had James Wiseman from Memphis, and from Ohio State, of course, Chase Young. Now, Chase Young is eligible to play the last 2 games of the season, Penn State, Michigan, and against Penn State and Michigan. Wiseman was is still eligible based on this emergency temporary restraining order that Memphis sent for, not sent for, but filed. So he's eligible for now. He could be suspended at any moment. Wiseman for, of course, taking money from Penny Hardaway in terms of moving expenses, and Chase Young for borrowing money in order to fly his girlfriend out to the Rose Bowl a couple years back. He paid now, and Chase Young paid the money back, and amazingly still was suspended. But again, when I hear cases like this, and I don't, I immediately just don't give a damn about the rules. The NCAA, obviously is one of the biggest hypocrisies in society. They have been forever, for a long time, forever. In particular, when it comes to sports of dominated by African Americans in regards to football and basketball. When's the last time you heard a baseball player ruled ineligible for taking money, or a tennis player, or a soccer player? All those sports are clean. All those sports are squeaky clean. Track. None of those sports are taken. None of those sports are, they're just running these straight out Gennaro programs. NCAA has gone consistently going after football and basketball. And think about the NCAA. Number one, we know they use and abuse these student athletes, and I say that jokingly, but to make themselves out to be this holier than thou, we're gonna follow all the rules, and we're gonna like make it seem like make them ourselves out to be like they are just going out of their way to hold these athletes accountable is comical. It's comical. And at some point, hopefully in the near future, something is going to blow up this system to where, and it's coming in basketball, because see, football is more dependent because guys actually have to go to college to play in the NFL. It's coming. That system's about to get destroyed in basketball, because these guys are not going to even need to go to college. They can go straight. Either two things. They're going to either go straight to the NBA, which they should be eligible in another 2 years or so, with high school going directly from high school to pro, or they're going to go play overseas. Football doesn't have that luxury. Guys have to go to college to play football. So the NCAA can hold that over football players' heads. Not as much with basketball. But regardless, these players are used, have been used, and when I see situations like this, when suspending a guy for borrowing money to pay for his girlfriend to go to a game, like, okay, so what's the problem? Someone gives you, like, if someone's willing to give you money and you pay it back, which you did, I don't see what the problem is. I generally don't see what the problem is. Or even in the case of Penny Hardaway. Penny Hardaway was a booster. He donated over $1 million to Memphis. He has brought excitement back to that and relevance back to that program. And he, it's not like he got that job because he was Penny Hardaway. Penny Hardaway was out there coaching AAU teams. He's coaching high school. He's put in the work, put in a lot of work. Now his name doesn't hurt, and he has strong ties to that city. We know that he's from Memphis, played at Memphis, was a legend there. Of course, we know what he did in the NBA, with Orlando and what have you. But Penny's not like their guys have been college basketball his contracts, not because he wanted to coach. It was just a hobby, and it ended badly. Penny Hardaway has brought he's made that program viable again, and that program. And I'll tell you what, don't think this is not brushed back for the fact that Penny Hardaway has landed the number one recruiting class in the country. Don't think it's not a lot of hate going on from that standpoint from other schools beating out Kentucky to get Wiseman. Again, he helped out with Wiseman's moving expenses. Again, I have nothing wrong with that. I just don't. Again, you want to say, well, what are you talking about? It's unfair. If other coaches aren't willing to do it, then you know what? They won't get the best players. If you want to get the best players, pay for it. Here's the thing. I have a mindset. Forget about this student athlete bullshit. It doesn't exist. This is a $1 billion business. Okay? Hundreds of millions of dollars, billions of dollars are involved in regards to the NCAA. This is business. And this is why this system needs to be just completely destroyed, because if I'm a James Wiseman, I should get paid. I should get paid or compensated at Memphis. If I'm a Chase Young, I'm putting my body on the line. My career might be over tomorrow with I could blow my knee out. I should be compensated. Or you know what? You should. If I want to get somebody, if somebody is willing to give me money to fly my girlfriend out, so be it. You want to say a star treatment? Cool. That's the real world. Talent gets treated well. It happens in all walks of life. If you are exceptional at something in any profession, you're going to get treated better than most. I mean, it's the way it is. So again, I don't know how it's going to happen, but I just want the NCAA. I just want college basketball and college football to be treated like a business, and for the main commodities to be compensated. Throughout this rule book, as far as AAU, as far as recruiting, can we just throw that out the window? If you don't want to pay the athletes, cool. If you don't want to pay them, as far as giving them a compensation, but let's forget about all these rules about boosters and loans and all that. Forget about it. Everybody has boosters. All these colleges have resources. Some have more than others. The bottom line is most of these players are leaving to go either are only staying a year anyway, and soon they're not going to be staying. Soon they're going to be going straight to NBA. So again, I detest the NCAA. I really do. I absolutely detest the NCAA. Don't give me that education equals a quality education equals compensation bullshit. Please save it for somebody else. Save it. Say I don't want to hear about it. I don't want to hear about it because again, it's okay for a soccer player who's 14 years old or 15 years old to get paid and go pro. Okay for a tennis player to get compensated at a young age. But when it comes to an African American football basketball player who gets compensated, then rules are broken. Save it for somebody else. Please. As far as the NBA goes, again, I'm all in on the NBA this year. Right now, quality game or a great performance. Um, it's not a coincidence that The Boston Celtics are 8-1, and they played the Wizards tonight, so soon to be 9-1, and the Brooklyn Nets are 4-6. It's not a coincidence. And if you don't realize how important chemistry and culture is, then you just don't understand sports. That's right. Yeah, and of course Lakers will be playing tonight. Um, Kyrie Irving, offensively, there's nothing Kyrie Irving can't do. Nothing. But I have a small, even with a small sampling, I don't like what I see. I don't like what I see in his short term in his time with Brooklyn. He's taking too many shots. They have more talent. That team should not be under 500 in the Eastern Conference. That team has a nice roster. Dinwiddie, LeVert, Allen, Joe Harris. A team, that team should not be under 500 in the Eastern Conference. There's no way. No way. Boston lost Al Horford and Aaron Baines. Think about that. Now, Gordon Hayward, before his recent injury, which we hope is not that serious and he can get back as soon as possible. Gordon Hayward seemingly was returning to looking like all-star Gordon Hayward. Tatum and Jaylen Brown just look happier. Jaylen Brown's played well. Tatum hasn't shot the ball well, but his play has impacted. His points, his numbers have had a stronger impact on winning. Again, those guys, the team looks happy. And again, it's hard to say addition by subtraction when you lose an all NBA caliber player, a guy who made the game winning shot in game 7 of the NBA finals, but it's addition by subtraction. I mean, Kyrie and Kemba comes in, fits like a glove. Even he got off to a slow start this year, but he's picked it up. Kemba's about 25-5 right now, somewhere in that range. And I just see a happy Boston team right now. And that team was not happy last year. And one of the main reasons why they weren't happy was one Kyrie. Now, I'm not saying Brooklyn isn't happy, but that team should not be under 500 in the Eastern Conference. The Eastern Conference is about 6 or 7 deep in terms of good teams, high quality teams. Once you get past Indiana, the pickings are slim. Matter of fact, there are teams right now who would make the playoffs in the Eastern Conference who are under 500. Versus the West, where you have a legit 10 quality teams in the Western Conference. I mean, I watched Brooklyn versus Phoenix on Sunday. Phoenix, they got smoked in that game. There's no, and mind you, I like Phoenix a lot this year. Phoenix is improved. Baines has definitely added some, nastiness to their team. They have some guys who, Oubre, Baines, those guys are guys who have something to prove. Those guys, have something to prove. Booker has stepped up his game, and Monty Williams has established a culture of where you are going to defend. You're absolutely going to defend. So I like what Phoenix has done. Tyler Johnson, I like the makeup of their team. I think they will challenge for an 8th seed in the Western Conference without question. Portland's underachieved this year. I don't like what I'm seeing out of Portland right now. They should be much better. Yeah, I forgot about him. He was. I absolutely forgot about him because he was playing well. Dighton from Arizona. Actually, he was playing. He's a double. That guy, yeah. And think about it. Imagine when he gets back. I actually forgot about him. That's how well they're playing. That I forgot about him. That he was out with suspension. He'll be back. He should be back in a couple of weeks. Portland should be better. We'll see. they're gonna make this trade with Whiteside. That will be, that's kind of like their ace in the hole for come trade deadline. But for not be last time, I thought they would think they're like 4-7. There's no way that team should be under 500 with the talent that they have. Only the Knicks could say that they're laying the groundwork to fire a coach. What is it? We're laying the groundwork, or it's being reported that they're laying the groundwork to fire their coach. Which you probably you would be doing him a favor. Like if Fizz does, like, please, you want to pay me to not deal with this franchise, please. That job has gotten to a point to where if I'm an up and coming coach, even if I'm, and again, they're only these jobs, these head coaching jobs in professional sports are special jobs because they're only 32 in the NFL. There are only 30 of them in the NBA. But I'm telling you right now, there's no way with that ownership, with that culture, with that front office, there's no way you can win with that franchise. And there's no way I would just weigh it out if I were up and coming coach. I would not take that job to save my life. You have to actually give me part ownership and complete power, like general manager power. Uh, I'm draft players. That's the only way that I would even take that job. That's the only way. That job is one of the worst jobs in sports right now. It really is. It is a horrible job for what once was a proud franchise that has been relevant in over 20 years. So there's no way that I would take that job. Um, Again, I'm not the biggest David Fizz. It's and some guys are assistant coaches. I mean, he might be one of those guys that he's an assistant coach. But again, the Knicks will make you look like you don't belong in a professional sport coach. The Knicks will make it seem like you don't belong coaching biddy ball. They will make you look bad in a heartbeat. So again, Fizdale could be done in the next week or so, in the next couple of weeks. The Knicks again, they don't care about terms of buying out his contract. They print their own money at Madison Square Garden. They make so much. They could literally print their own money. As far as the college football goes, that was an absolute classic in Tuscaloosa. Uh, I'm not surprised not in the least bit surprised by LSU's performance. LSU has been from start to finish the best team in college football this year. They deserve to be number one. As Tua was hurt, there's no question about it, but he played, so there's no excuses. I think it took him a half to get into the game to kind of get under his sea legs, and he had a big staff, but too little, too late. Alabama's defense had no answers, and there's no defense in the country that has any answers for that offense and for what LSU can do. Burrow's going to win the Heisman. They have pros up and down the board as far as the receivers, and they are the odds-on favorite to win it all. Now, they can be beat in a playoff game with the right matchup. So they're not unbeatable by any stretch of imagination. I mean, they could lose to Georgia in the SEC championship, but that team is, LSU. That team they have a big time. They are a big time team. I would calm down on the Alabama demise. I've been hearing a lot of that with Alabama. Now all of a sudden Alabama is on a decline. Like, calm down. Their last two losses, the two teams that could possibly be national champions. They lost to Clemson, which hasn't lost it since in forever, and LSU could win a championship this year. So I think Alabama still has the opportunity to be a one-loss team to get to the playoffs. Right now, let me see, they're fifth behind Georgia. Two teams are coming out the SEC. That's all there is to it. Now, it's going to be LSU. It's going to be a combination of LSU, Alabama, or LSU, Georgia. Two teams are coming out the SEC. So, there are three spots to me that are locked down. Clemson is a lock. They're not losing for the rest of the way moving forward, and they're going to go undefeated. And two of the SEC teams are locks to make it, to me, in my opinion, to make it to the playoffs. So it really leaves you with one spot, which could go to Ohio State, possibly, maybe a Oregon, maybe a Minnesota, maybe a Penn State. Um, Maybe I'm leaving out Utah. possibly a team like that, Oklahoma, outside chance. Again, I think I know there are at least there are three positions, three spots that are gonna be locked down in regards to the playoffs, in my opinion, with Clemson and at least, and I think two of the SEC teams. So, again, very early. It's still early in terms of giving out scenarios and how this and that team and comparing resumes. We're not even we're still what 2 weeks away from Thanksgiving. We're still 2 weeks away from Thanksgiving. So there's still a lot of football to be played. Michigan, Penn State. No, not Michigan, Penn State. Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State, Ohio State. You have the Iron Bowl, Alabama, Auburn, Georgia is this weekend. SEC championship. There's still a number of games that have to be played before we start, trying to fill up those spots. I always believe there's an overreaction to these rankings before Thanksgiving. So we'll see what happens with that. But again, that was a virtuoso performance by LSU. Give Alabama credit because they look like they get their doors blown off. But LSU was more than due to beat Alabama. They hadn't beaten them since 2011, and they finally welcome to the 21st century LSU as far as the passing offense goes. They finally got their quarterback. He's going to win a Heisman, and they are on their way to possibly winning a national championship. That's going to wrap it up for this latest edition of the Real Deal Podcast. As always, you can catch me on my YouTube channel, Real Deal Podcast. This podcast, of course, will be available via Stitcher, Blog Talk Radio, iTunes, Apple.iTunes, and a number of other various platforms around. So you can find me anywhere. I appreciate the listens, appreciate the views. I'm out.